you done now? Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Doc! Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Martin.
No, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Yeah. Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Whoa, this is heavy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back to the Future, the podcast. I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore. This is season 7, and we're counting down the episodes now until the season finale. But guess what? There's going to be a couple surprises along the way. I am apologetic for the delay in getting this great episode to you today. Joe Walser joins us. You might know Joe from Out of Time or from a very special project that he and I are going to be talking about here momentarily. New Back to the Future book is on the way, March the 30th. It's going to be with him and Bob Gale. Both have this new book coming out about the DeLorean. It's called Back to the Future, DeLorean Time Machine, Doc Brown's Owner's Workshop Manual. It is coming out on the 30th of this, not this month, but of March. So it's close. It's coming up close, right? So, I am excited to talk to Joe about that process, working with one of the co-creators of Back to the Future on a Back to the Future related project. Pretty awesome. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about him restoring the DeLorean. Awesome. All really great stuff with Joe Walser. And then coming up here next week, a super special episode that was not planned to be in this season, but it's going to be happening anyway. And then we're going to have a season finale like no other to end Back to the Future, the podcast, season 7. And immediately I'm going to be right back doing season 8. I already have stuff lined up for season 8, so don't worry. I do apologize for taking so long to get this episode to you. If you've been following the news at all, you know in my area, I'm from the great state of Texas, and in my city, Houston, Texas, we kind of got hit by some weather. And I was without power for several days, without heat for several days, without internet. I didn't have internet for several days. What was I going to do? I didn't know. So I couldn't get this podcast out to everybody. But now, here it is, man. I'm excited to bring it to you. And this has been my favorite season. I thought this season 6, because we had Crispin, we had Leah, we had Don, all on the show. I think that season 7 has been my favorite just because we've been able to branch out. Obviously, had that little tidbit with Christopher Lloyd, had Bob Gale on, Peter Rosenberg, Chris Van Vliet. Jeremiah Chachik was awesome last week, right? I mean, the list goes on and on of people I've had on this season. And I got to say, Joe has been someone who's been on my list for quite some time, ever since I talked to Steve Concatelli, who directed Out of Time. And I saw the Out of Time documentary. I knew that Joe was like all of us. He was a pinhead at heart, a Back to the Future fan like no other. And he did a service to all of us who are fans of these incredible films. He went out and he restored the DeLorean time machine. And he built it back up and made it whole again. And saved a piece of cinematic history forever. You know, when I talked to the owner of DeLorean on the season 3 of the podcast, we talked about it being the greatest movie car of all time, and it really is. The DeLorean is the best movie car of all time. So to hear Joe talk about seeing that car, the steps in reviving the car, and then the difficulty in finding parts to do the DeLorean restoration. It's incredible to hear. It's an incredible story, and I'm excited to talk to him about this brand new book that he has coming out with Bob Gale about that DeLorean time machine. So without further ado, let's check out my interview, my talk with Joe Walser here on Back to the Future, the podcast. And he joins me now, the man of the hour, the one with the power, too sweet to be sour. Joe Walser is in the building. Joe, how you doing, man?
Hey, in the house.
I appreciate you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing this, man. I'm excited to talk to you. I mean, I think people who are familiar now with Back to the Future, the kind of the subculture around the films, have either seen your face or heard your name or familiar with some of your work. I'm sure that's a pretty cool thing. But I wanted to talk kind of about your background with Back to the Future. You know, everyone who I bring on here, I just kind of want to know where they saw it for the first time. I saw it on the Disney Channel of all places. So where did you first see Back to the Future?
I saw Back to the Future for the first time in the movie theaters when it came out. I was almost exactly the same age as Artie was in the movie, 17, I think. And that's where I saw it. And actually, I had no idea. I had never seen like a trailer for it or anything. You know, I never saw anything. I'm not sure how. That could be totally not even true because I'm old and I can't remember. But the truth is, I didn't know enough about it. You know what I mean? I was on the ride of, you know, a lifetime during that movie. I remember specifically the way I felt when it ended. I was just like when the car just shwa, you know, and I was just like, that was sick, right? I have to immediately see it again and again and again, you know. And it spoke to me on, like, I don't know, all the levels, right? I had all of the feels for that movie. It was incredible, life-changing. And that's, I mean, those are big words for a movie, you know. But look at, you know, the 3 or 4 big ones, right? Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future, you know. They were all life-changing. Everybody quotes them and, you know, wants to live it, you know. I mean, everybody's Indiana Jones, everybody's Luke Skywalker, and everybody's Marty McFly, except me. I tend to be Doc Brown. It's just I relate with Doc more than I do Marty, you know. Not that I don't relate with Marty. Like I said, when I first saw it, I was same age, and I was like, yep, that's me. But then as things progressed, I was like, you know, I kind of relate a little more with Doc Brown, and then it became about the car, and the rest is history, right?
Right. Everything moved on from there. But it's interesting that you bring up or the past, however that works. It's interesting you bring up Doc because I feel like most people I talk to, the attraction was Marty McFly. Even when I was a child, Doc was the one that I gravitated toward. And I'm not sure if it's because I saw like a fatherly or grandfatherly figure in him. I was very close to my dad and grandfather. My dad was born in the 40s, my grandfather in the 19-teens, right? So I felt like there was some sort of familiarity with the character of Doc. But what was it for you? Why did you kind of appeal more to him, or why did he appeal more to you?
You know, I just, the way I view Doc is basically kind of the way I see the Wizard of Oz, and not like the big head with the fire, but the dude behind the curtain who's running the show, you know? It's like I'm less, like I didn't become an actor, for example. Instead, I worked in the art department on, you know, in movie production. And I prefer to, you know, create the experience and then enjoy everybody else living in it. And that's what I did with the We're Going Back, the big Back to the Future fan celebrations. You know, I mean, honestly, I barely remember them. I live vicariously through all the videos and photos that the fans took while they were enjoying it, you know? And my goal was, you know, to blow their minds, to send everybody back to the future for a week. And, you know, I mean, we pulled it off, but again, I'm just more of the, orchestrator. I don't know if that's a word, but orca, then some other letters that make a word. Okay.
They make up a word. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I don't know if I answered the question or not, but
I hear what you're saying. I mean, Doc really was. It's his spirit of imagination. When I talked to Chris Lloyd, he said, when I asked him just why is Doc, out of all the characters, when you think about Christopher Lloyd, he's played so many iconic roles, right? from Jim Ignatowski to even, yeah, I love Clue the movie, and he's Professor Plum in that, Uncle Fester. I mean, the list goes on, right? And I asked him, why did this role, other than the popularity of the movie, just kind of become synonymous with you as an actor? And he said, because Doc's a big kid, and he thinks like a big child, and he has that imagination of, there's no inhibitions, right? There's no limits to what he can do. And I think that childlike innocence is what we miss as we get older. We think about things too logically, and we're not thinking fourth dimensionally, right?
Yeah, well, like creatively, we felt that way as a kid, but we lacked the genius level, IQ and all that, and his experience, working on the Manhattan Project and all that. I mean, he's a super smart guy, right? But I think it's funny because, like everything he does, everything he invents, I mean, while it's amazing and it has its, obvious perks, they're all kind of hazardous, you know what I mean? Like they're hazardous inventions, and he's always like, it's lead line, so everything's safe now. It's like, really? Everything is safe because you put a little lead around it. That's good. I'm glad. I feel good. Hop in. So there is kind of like a whole he's smart. He knows almost for sure that it will work, but the risk, it just like, it'll be fine, and maybe it will, and it turned out mostly fine for them, but there was always that element that they're really screwing things up here, and maybe flying by the seat of your pants isn't always the best idea. Sometimes you need to know what you're doing, but about the whole childhood, like if you were as creative as you were as a kid, but you also knew how to pull that stuff off, that would be sick. It would be a different world, that's for sure. I know I had a lot of ideas that bit the dust because I didn't know how to weld or something, Duct tape, it doesn't work,
Not for everything. For most things, but not for everything.
Not for the things that I needed it to work for as a child. So.
But again, the childlike fascination in Doc is kind of a little bit in all of us, and I think it's why it appeals to the movie, or why we all have that strong connection to it. And then yours just never went away, right? You always loved this film, and like I said, I first became aware of you through the Out of Time documentary. At first, there was like a small version of it on the Back to the Future, was it 30th anniversary Blu-ray set, and then the full length came out a little bit around the same time. And I just love seeing you put the car back together. So what was it about? Where was the origin of you having to put this vehicle together? I think that if I had this right, you saw it in the Universal Studios lot and saw this pitiful machine all laying there, this piece of movie history.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those stories where there's a lot of perspectives. And a lot of players, but for me, how it went down was, let's see, I was at Universal Studios with a friend of mine, and we were both Back to the Future fans. We're into props and sci-fi stuff and Back to the Future, Star Wars, all of it, Raiders, everything. But we were particularly, me and my own personal love for Back to the Future has been pretty much consistent. Although, there are some dating years where it's not that cool, to profess your love to a fake time machine. Hey, you don't know it's fake. That's what I'm saying, right? It's like that was the approach when I was building my replica. My wife would come out and she would be like, it's not going to work, right? And I was like, you don't know that. You don't know, right? I could accidentally do it perfect and it could work, right? I mean, obviously that's not rational, but I wanted to get as close as possible. And that's what kicked in my extreme, kind of OCD, my attention to detail. It became really important to me. Like, if I'm going to buy a DeLorean and convert it into Doc's time machine, I mean, why wouldn't you like nail it, right? So it began this incredible Easter egg hunt for, because when I got into this, there was a reason, there was a beginning to like the whole, like, everybody thinking about building time machines and things like that. And it was when the DVDs came out. So before then, like, I mean, you just could not get any real detail off of the VHS. It was impossible. You pause it and it's like, and you're like, it's shaped like, I don't know. So, but when the DVD came out, people realized they could almost see it, and so it was tantalizing, but then, all the parts became, I see a black box, or I see a silver tank, and that's, how fans started talking to each other about what they saw, and it was all, education, basically. In what it meant to nail the DeLorean time machine, to like create a Memorex carbon copy of it, and the tools and the research and the information, they weren't out there. And people, ask me, like, where did I get all the information? And the answer is that there's no one source. It's everything. I've been through the archives at Universal. I've talked to all the people that built the original, and other fans have done those things too. It was really, I think, what set it all apart for me was that I wasn't interested in in making anything up. I wasn't like trying to recreate Back to the Future. I was trying to replicate Doc's time machine, and that's it. And so everything became vital, right? And now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, it's vital that you turned that screw just so, right? So that the line matched the original, photos and stuff from the 80s. But if I hadn't have gone, down the rabbit hole that deep, who knows? I mean, look at what's happened as a result of that. I mean, Bob Gale calls it obsessive. He's you're obsessed, and I just prefer passionate. I'm passionate. I just really, really like it. That's all. Obsessed, I don't know.
Again, it's the perspective, right? It's just whatever your perspective is.
Definitely, the perspective is huge. Anyway, we started doing a lot of research, and probably one of the things that really helped me personally was that I happened to live near where they originally scavenged for parts. And so I just started hitting the ground, boots on the ground, and I just started digging, and I would spend weeks all day long at Apex and the radioactive chemical garbage there that can, kill you. Hey, I'm not doing a commercial for Apex, sorry, but it's a really cool place, but there is stuff there that's hazardous, right? I mean, you shouldn't be digging in some of the things I was digging in. I remember and the other thing is people get frustrated when they go to Apex because it's just like it's too much, there's too much input, and you're walking around, it's hard to see, the forest through the trees or the tree through the forest, whatever. And you sound like a damn fool when you say it that way. Sorry, it just happens. But I started recognizing some of the stuff, and I actually found I mean, over the course of a few years, I found, you know, a vast majority of the unknowns, one at a time, you know, and people just, you know, how do you find this stuff? Like, I've been there, there's nothing there. And I'm like, it's there. You have to dig. It's very methodical and OCD, and, you know, and me and my team compartmentalized all of these places, Apex, Lukey's, all this, you know, what used to be Joe Factor back in the day. And we would just, you know, give each other a section, and we'd each, you know, mow through it until we picked out everything that we could find. So it was a combination of, you know, a lot of dirty, sweaty, sunburnt days. That's the other thing. Searching in the yard at Apex in the summer is no picnic. No picnic. You leave, chapped lips, sunburn, you know, farmer's tan, all that. So good. But also, you know, with a box of goods. And in a lot of cases, we were actually able to find, for sure, the exact box that the production people had, you know, originally sourced the parts for the time machine from that box. You know, there were exactly, you know, 2 parts missing or 3 parts missing, depending on, you know, whatever, which car they were working on. But, you know, it's pretty cool to pull out a, you know, like a legitimate, like, I wouldn't care about this part ever, except for I'm obsessed with it now because of, you know, what it's associated with. So there's a lot of other cool stuff that I'm like, nope.
Don't need any of that because it's not germane to my cause right now.
Right. This is super awesome, but nope.
What was okay, you're searching, trying to find these pieces to make the exact replica of the DeLorean time machine. What was the holy grail piece? What was the piece that you searched for, and then you finally said, I've got it?
Oh man, that's a good one, because, you know, there's kind of a lot of holy grail pieces on the car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot. There's a handful. The first turbine nozzle I ever found was pretty epic. You know, there are a few parts that are, you know, sort of unknowns at the moment. You know, some of them will be revealed in the book, so I can't say yet. But I don't know. You know, there's so many. The green tubes, you know, and I'm just like, I'm throwing these out here as like the builder terms, just how the builders learned to communicate with each other, what part they were talking about. But they're not necessarily the real names, which may also appear in the book.
Oh.
So, you know, yeah, it was a really long process to figure out the legitimate names for everything on the car. Started with Bob Gale and Terry Metalis, and I, you know, had lunch like, I don't know, 5 years ago, talking about this, and then just working through it with, you know, all the guys on my team, and you know, pinging back and forth about you know, whether they bought it. You know what I mean? Like, somebody would pitch, what if this? And, you know, I mean, that's too Star Trek-y. You know, it has to pass my sniff test, and I know nothing about nuclear physics, right? But enough, you know, that I can talk about it. But you know how, like, in Star Trek, there's like some stuff that's specifically Star Trek and doesn't really sound normal outside of Star Trek. Like dilated crystals and things like that, where you're like, okay, is that a thing? I don't know, but sure. Everything in this book had to be a thing and pass everybody's sniff test. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that. I think that's what it was supposed to be doing, you know? And once everybody settled, then, you know, we had a pretty good starting place for the book.
So what is the book you're talking about? So you and Bob Gale. Bob Gale, of course, everyone knows. You know his legacy with Back to the Future. It'd be odd if you didn't by this point.
So.
What are y'all exactly doing? Y'all writing a book together, and it's the DeLorean Owner's Manual. Do I have that right?
It's the Haynes DeLorean Owner's Manual. Yeah. So it's you've seen. I mean, there's a difference between like the real Haynes manuals for like a Peugeot, whatever, where it shows every single piece and every, well, I mean, we do pretty much show every single piece, but it's different in that, that just is what it is. And for example, they have Haynes manuals for the Death Star. Okay. So it's not a real thing, right? They never showed it, but now you're getting to see inside. And there's some people that are like, canon is only what I saw on screen, the first time or whatever. And then, other people have different interpretations of what canon is. And then some things become canon. And I think the concept for the book is that what's in the book is canon. So, and to co-author it with Bob Gale was nuts. It's bonkers, right? I would have loved to go back, when I was sitting in the movie theater watching Back to the Future for the first time and just, hey, younger me. Later, you're going to co-author a book with this guy about the DeLorean time machine. Yeah. Okay. Get away from me. Boop, I need an adult, right? But here we are.
Yeah, it is wild to think just getting, like I said, into the subculture of Back to the Future, and then you find yourself writing a book with Bob Gale, or going and meeting Jay Leno to talk about the time machine, or I mean, all these crazy things that happen just out of your fandom. It really does echo the words of Doc Brown. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. But was Bob Gale the first day you met him? I mean, was he everything that you wanted to be? Because I got to interview him for the first time ever. I got to speak to him a couple weeks ago, I think, at this point, and it was just, oh my God, this is Bob Gale. And I had maybe a million questions to ask him, and I couldn't remember any of them right as he was calling in. And first off, how was it meeting him for the first time? And two, was there the long-term fan question you always wanted to ask him that you finally got to ask him?
Yep. All of those things I can answer. They all happened, everything. First of all, he's a super nice guy, really obviously smart. And but he's also intimidating. I mean, he's the godfather, of Back to the Future. And, so it's a little nerve-wracking just because, everybody's always got to be on their best behavior. And, because when we're not on our best behavior, we don't act like that, We're not on our best behavior. That's pretty much how it goes. I mean, he's great. What was the question?
So did you have like a long-term fan question that you always wanted to ask him about the movies?
Several, actually. Okay. One of them was when Doc, grabs the car and he's like, and Marty's like, geez, what is it? Hot, And Doc's like, no, it's cold. It's damn cold.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a time when pretty much everybody thought it was air cold. That was the argument. Air cold. No, it's air cold. Because it sounds like he's saying air cold, but it's Christopher Lloyd, he's got a certain, a Doc Brown mumble, and hey, it sounded like air cold, and I was like, why would it be air cold? Like, what is air cold? I don't think that's a thing, right? And I was like listening, and I was like, no, he's just mumbling damn cold. It's damn cold. So there was that one, and I asked him, and he was like, yeah, it's damn cold. And then he said, what the hell is air cold? And I was like, that's what I said. Okay. The other was what's the other one? It's like, I'll think of it in a second. Oh, I know. It was the pinball machine parts, right? So he says, you know, I took their plutonium and in turn gave them a shiny bomb casing full of used pinball machine parts. And everybody's like, no, it's shoddy. And I go, okay, but why would it be shoddy? Like, how does that even make sense in the context? Why? Why would he be dazzling the Libyans with a shoddy bomb casing? What? No, shiny is it's shiny, full of used pinball. Oh, it's real. Oh, I'm excited, you know? Anyway, that was a big argument. Like, there are sides on that one. They're like, no, it's shoddy. I go, I hear shoddy also. It just doesn't make sense. So I was like, I need to ask you another question about the script. Is it shoddy or shiny? And he was like, what do you think? And I was like, I think shiny. And he goes, yeah, shoddy doesn't make any damn sense. Thank you. So it was nice to be vindicated about those things. So, yeah.
That is awesome.
I've asked him a lot more, you know, and if I think of them, I'll bring them up. But it has been a really cool experience being able to do that. You know, just like, hey, what is the right answer? And he's like, boom. And I'm like, thank you. You know, where there's so, you know, there was a lot of discussions on Facebook and stuff, just fan theories about whatever. And just recently, actually, people were theorizing about how the flying time machine landed on the other end in the 1800s. And it was a big debate and arguing back and forth. This is this, and then what about this, and everything. And that was one of the things that we kind of went over in the book. And so I weighed in, and I was just like, this is what happened. And it was just like, no, it's not. This is, you know, and I was like, okay, just wait for the book. And then you'll read it, and you still won't believe it. And that's fine. But my point is kind of like, honestly, at a certain point, I think that the conspiracy theory thing is just like, that's entertainment. You know, like they don't actually want answers. They want to theorize. And I'm like, okay.
But you're going to be giving them answers.
I'll be over here with the answers. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you want to hit me up. I have a couple more things for you, Joe, and I really appreciate the time. So when we talk about Back to the Future, when I was a kid, 3 was my favorite. And I don't know if it's because, like I said, I'm from the state of Texas, and Westerns are a big deal here. You grow up on Westerns and country music and everything. So I had some sort of bond to it. I don't know why. And then so when I was a kid, the third one was my favorite. Then when I got older, it was the first one. There's been times where the second one I said is the best movie. What is Joe's definitive rankings of the 3 movies? I'm sure if you're like me, they change day to day sometimes, but do you have a kind of definitive list for yourself?
Well, I like the first one the best. I always have. But I mean, I'm not saying it was better, or, you know, I mean, it was a little bit better, but but I'm not going to say that. I liked them all. I really did. I mean, my favorites definitely do change, you know, and for a while, you know, when part 2 came out, it was all about part 2. When part 3 came out, it was all about part 3. But it was always all about part 1. But it is, you know, for every trilogy, you know, I mean, the first Raiders, the first Star Wars, it's just, they are the best, period. I'm not going to debate it anywhere. But the first one, when the time machine came out of the truck, something clicked in my brain. I was like, that is awesome. Yeah, and now I know that that's a thing. And so we're gonna spend a lot of time on that thing. But you know, it was magical. And the truth is, I at the time I did not have any idea what a DeLorean was. I mean, I may have seen the news, but I was 17. I was not watching the news, you know. And it took a while, you know. I mean, I was like, a DeLorean, I don't know. I assume he's talking about that badass car, but you know, it's not like, you know, he said this is a DeLorean, you know. Although now that I think about it, you probably can read it on the bumper and stuff. But
Yeah, yeah.
like
I might
I said,
say
look,
it there.
I'm a little bit old, and so I can make stuff up from time to time.
You know, when I so in Houston, they actually have a headquarters for DeLorean. Stephen Wynn has his headquarters here in Houston, right outside of Houston, Humble, Texas, but it's in Houston. And I remember going to visit there and getting the full tour and walk through and pulling up, as a kid, I never thought this would be possible, pulling up in my car and then seeing a row of DeLoreans all next to each other. And then you walk into the showroom, and there is a replica time machine right there with the smoke. The time circuits made the noises, the whole 9 yards. You see all the gull-wing doors and boxes from West Germany that they had. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's still, even as a fully formed adult male, I felt as though I was a teenager again, getting to see all of these incredible pieces of the most, I think it's the most iconic car in movie history. Obviously, you and I are probably biased, but I can't think of one that's really more iconic. Sure, you have the Batmobile, you have Sean Connery's Aston Martin. There's a few, but none more than the DeLorean, right?
No, that's for sure, for sure. And I mean, I've seen how many, you know, of those online. What is the most iconic? And everybody votes. It's always the DeLorean time machine. It always wins because it is the most iconic movie, you know, vehicle in movie history.
Yeah, all of that.
Cinema. But you know, it just is. Like, you know, I can be partial if I want to be, but it doesn't mean that it's still not true. It is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Now, let me ask you this. Two more things. First off, okay, we all know Biff, Lorraine, George, Marty, Doc. Those are the central characters in the movie. Everyone loves them. But Back to the Future has an incredible cast of these side characters that we've all come to know and love. And really, if you're a massive fan like you or I are, you actually hold them up at the same level as everybody else. But who is your favorite side character from the Back to the Future universe?
Oh, man. Side character. Marty. You see what I did right there? I made it all about Doc. The movie's about Doc. No, I love them all. Leah Thompson is amazing, and Crispin Glover was awesome. You know,
And like a particular love for like Mayor Goldie Wilson or Principal Strickland.
I love Mayor Goldie Wilson, my buddy Don Full Love. He's awesome. You know, and so was Matt Clark, the bartender. You know, and so was you know, Tom Wilson. Obviously, was. I mean, you know, how many characters did he play? And each one, you know, it's not like you have to go, which one is he playing now? You know, oh, that's Mad Dog. That's, you know, every character is completely different. It's amazing. Actually.
7 different variations of Biff and his family is what Tom Wilson ended up playing in those 3 movies.
It's insane. You know what I mean? Because every single one of those was not like Tom Wilson as, it was just Griff. That's Griff. That's Biff. You know? It was great. It was insane. But, you know, the side characters go all the way down to, you know, the clock tower lady, you know, who, you know, had a 2-second shot, and she's just as important as the rest of the cast. So
super iconic, you know, and rest in peace. She just left us a few days ago, but rest in peace. Obviously, Elsa Raven. And then I'm looking at your office. This will be my last question for you. I'm looking at your office here, or wherever you are.
This is my new office. I'm just moving in, so I still haven't even. I just put up some stuff, but.
What is your favorite piece that you own? Your favorite prop replica? We were talking about the lady, the clock tower lady. You know, I have, of course, the Save the Clock Tower. I love all my Back to the Future gadgets. But what is one of your favorite or your absolute favorite?
Favorite prop?
Yeah, that you own.
Oh, okay. That I own. I have a couple of Doc's original clocks, screen used, and those are probably my favorite thing because they're Doc's clocks.
How did you come across those?
I bought them from somebody, who had them.
Oh yeah, you might know a guy or two.
I know people.
You know people and you are known. But what else do you have in this collection? I see a lot of stuff. I see the Lion Estates. I see the actual clock tower top piece. It looks over like on a file cabinet.
Yeah. So these, so there are, people don't read anymore. So they're not bookends. They hold up all my Blu-rays, right?
I see that. Yes.
So, but they were these were a prototype that me and my partner in that endeavor, Rob Klein, we made these prototypes for a company that ended up not actually producing them, but the prototypes exist and they're super cool. You just 1955, 1985.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and got the other one on the other side,
Okay.
which obviously is the same, but it's kind of cool just to
See the differences here.
see
There we
them.
are.
Oops.
Oh, so one has more graffiti than the other,
I don't know.
right? Maybe.
I don't know. Kind of balanced. But then the
Kinda
other side's brand new. They really cleaned up this place. And the same, we built the clock tower as a prototype for the same company. But all of these things, may eventually see the light of day.
Oh, really? Look at that. A little tease.
Yeah.
You dropped a little tease on us.
Yeah, I'm supposed to drop some teases from time to time. The Mr. Fusion, I don't know if you can see it.
I can see it, yeah.
The sliver of it. That is, I kind of like, I have that as a trophy. It's kind of a meaningful award, right? Because I didn't get anything out of this at all, except for one Mr. Fusion that was a gift from Bob Gale for rescuing that project. Basically, it was Diamond Select. They had a prototype that was no bueno. And I said to Bob, I was like, look, we know what the real thing looked like. Why are we gonna mass produce that? You know what I mean? I promise you, if I walk into whatever, Toys R Us, and I see that, I'm not gonna buy it. I just can't do it. It's like, what is that? It wasn't really accurate. It was just made up, right? It was just like, oh, this is what I think I see. Somebody who's not a fan or whatever. Some suits, in charge of the wrong project. I'm just saying. I'm sure that's not the case. I didn't say anything about that. It's all good. But it needed help, and I offered to do it with the help of my team. And we built them a perfect CAD for a perfect Mr. Fusion with every conceivable detail correct. And as a result, everybody who buys a Diamond Select Mr. Fusion is getting the real thing. I mean, the information on that prop replica is legitimate. The only differences are, that it was manufactured instead of being assembled from an actual coffee grinder. This is a manufactured replica of the coffee grinder. And if you took it apart, you're not going to be able to grind coffee with it, right? So, but that was an example of why I got into this in the first place. It was, I really, beyond my personal love for the time machine, when I got, the job to restore it, it was, it was with a lot of respect for the community that I took that job, because I wanted to do it 100% correctly. And I knew that it would, be on display and be photographed a billion times and be scrutinized. And now that's the Bible of reference for anybody who's going to attempt to build their own time machine replica now. They go to that. So in the way that I prefer to do things in life is I like to leave things better than I found them. And particularly for Back to the Future, I really feel strongly about giving back to the franchise, making it better, and like in the case of the Mr. Fusion, we weren't paid for that. We just did it to make it better. And it's awesome. So anytime that we can improve on, things like that, I love to do that. And so most of the things that I own are things that I've been lucky enough to have something to do with, So it's like just my own little. These are the things that I did to make the Back to the Future community a way cooler place. That's why I'm here.
And that is why we wanted to have you on the podcast. And tell everybody, Joe, when can they expect the book from you and Bob Gale?
What book?
We've mentioned it once or twice.
It comes out March 2nd, 2021. So not long. Yeah, but it is available for pre-order right now on Amazon. And it's about, I think in December, there's going to be a big press junket and, a big push on the book, in which the new cover will be released. And I think they're going to share, 6 or so spreads from the, how you do, and you want to get a little sample of what's in the book. That will all be coming in December at some point.
Awesome, man. We cannot wait to see it. We cannot wait to read it. That is Joe Walser. Joe, thank you so much, man.
Oh, anytime. Right on.
Well, there he was, Joe Walser, man. How awesome was that? That was a fun talk that I had with him. What an awesome dude. What a cool dude. I had a lot of fun talking to him, and I'm really looking forward to this book. I can't wait to get my hands on it and see everything that they're doing in Doc Brown's workshop manual about the DeLorean time machine. This is something that I've actually thought about before. If I could see what Doc Brown's vision was, his sketches for the time machine. We're going to hear all about it coming up 30th of March. Until next time, my name is Brad Gilmore. I'm your friend in time. This is Back to the Future, the podcast, and we will see you in the future.
Brad, what have you done now? Oh, Brad, what have you done now?